Discipline is the foundation of success, but it's also one of the most difficult qualities to master. People often confuse motivation with discipline, thinking that once they feel motivated, they'll be able to achieve everything they've set their mind to. But motivation, as powerful as it may feel in the moment, is fleeting. It comes and goes, often at the most inconvenient times. What happens when the initial excitement fades and the challenges begin to pile up? That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions. It's about showing up day in and day out, regardless of how you feel. It's the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. The world we live in is full of distractions, temptations, and easy ways out. Every day there's something trying to pull us off course. Whether it's social media, personal problems, or the constant pressure of modern life, distractions can easily derail even the most well-intentioned goals. The reason so many people fail to achieve their objectives is simple. They don't have the discipline to stay focused when it matters most. It's easy to get sidetracked by the things that offer instant gratification, but real success is built on long-term consistency. It requires doing the hard work over and over again when no one is watching and when the rewards aren't immediate. One of the toughest aspects of discipline is understanding that it's not about passion or emotion. It's about doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Motivation might push you to work hard for a few days, but discipline will keep you working even after the excitement has worn off. It's not about how you feel in the moment, but what you're willing to commit to for the long haul. And that commitment has to be strong enough to withstand the inevitable moments of doubt, frustration, and fatigue. Without discipline, you are at the mercy of your emotions, and that's a dangerous place to be. The key to developing discipline is creating routines and habits that support your goals. The most successful people don't just wake up motivated, they wake up with a set of habits that keep them moving forward regardless of how they feel. Routines remove the need for constant decision-making, which can be mentally exhausting. Instead of spending time debating whether or not you should work on your goal, your discipline takes over, guiding you through the process. That key to generating motivation, habits become the autopilot for success, reducing the mental energy required to stay on track. But it's not easy. In fact, it's incredibly hard. Discipline often means making sacrifices. It means saying no to things that may feel good in the moment, but are ultimately distractions from your long-term objectives. It means choosing the difficult path over the easy one. It means pushing through the discomfort and resisting the urge to quit when things get tough. And that's where most people fail. They hit the first roadblock, the first bit of resistance, and they back off. They let the discomfort dictate their actions rather than pushing through it. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not talent. It's the ability to endure the hard moments and keep showing up when the going gets tough. To truly cultivate discipline, you have to embrace the process. You can't just focus on the end result. If you're only motivated by the outcome, you're setting yourself up for failure. The journey itself is where the growth happens. If you're not willing to put in the effort on the small tasks, day after day, you'll never reach the big ones. The ability to show up and put in the work, no matter how monotonous it might seem, because you understand that the small steps add up to something much bigger in the end. Ultimately, discipline is about making a decision, deciding that no matter what, you will stay committed to your goal, even when it feels like the world is trying to pull you away from it. It's about making your actions match your words and your dreams match your effort. There are no shortcuts. There's no magic trick. It's about doing the hard work time after time because you believe that it's worth it. The truth is, success isn't given to the most talented, the smartest, or the most gifted. It's given to those who can show up day after day and put in the work, even when they don't feel like it, even when it's hard, and especially when it would be easier to quit. That's the essence of discipline. And that's the real difference between achieving your goals and failing to do so. Fear of failure is one of the most paralyzing forces that hold people back from reaching their goals. It's not just the fear of failing in front of others, but the internal terror of falling short of one's own expectations. It's the nagging voice that whispers, what if you're not good enough? Or what if everything you've worked for falls apart? This fear can cripple even the most determined individuals, causing them to freeze in place, unable to move forward. The most insidious part about this fear is that it doesn't just make people avoid action, it causes them to question their worth, their abilities, and their potential. What happens when you're afraid of failing is that you start to avoid taking risks. You start to play it safe, settling for less because the unknown feels too dangerous. You hold yourself back from opportunities that could push you forward because you're terrified of what might happen if things don't go according to plan. The truth is, you can never truly succeed unless you're willing to face that fear head on. Success is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who understand that failure is a necessary part of the journey. The most successful people in any field have all experienced failure. They just didn't let it define them. The key to overcoming the fear of failure lies in changing your perspective on failure itself. People who fear failure see it as the end, as a permanent defeat. But in reality, failure is simply feedback. It's a step along the path, not a final destination. When you fail, you learn. You gain insight into what doesn't work, and you can adjust your approach. Every failure carries a lesson if you're willing to embrace it. The reason many people stay stuck is because they interpret failure as a reflection of their inadequacy. They think that failing means they're not capable, when in fact, it means they're just one step closer to success. If you let the fear of failure stop you, you're guaranteed to never reach your goals. People who succeed are not those who avoid failure. They are those who push through it, who treat failure as a necessary step to improvement. The fear itself is often much worse than the failure itself. We imagine the worst possible outcomes in our minds, creating stories of disaster that rarely come to fruition. In most cases, the fear is just a mental barrier, something that can be overcome with action. Every time you take a step forward in spite of your fear, you weaken its grip on you. You start to build resilience, and you begin to realize that failure doesn't define you, it refines you. However, this doesn't mean you should take failure lightly. It's important to acknowledge the risks involved in any endeavor. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is how they approach those risks. The successful person doesn't let fear dictate their actions. They recognize the possibility of failure, but they don't allow it to paralyze them. Instead, they face the fear and move through it. They understand that risk is an inherent part of the process, and that without taking chances, they will never achieve anything worthwhile. The fear of failure often stems from perfectionism, the belief that everything must go exactly right or it's not worth doing. This mindset is incredibly limiting. It keeps people stuck in a cycle of overthinking and second guessing, never willing to take that first step because they fear they won't do it perfectly. Perfectionism is the enemy of progress. The most successful people aren't obsessed with getting everything right. They're obsessed with moving forward. They don't let the pursuit of perfection paralyze them. Instead, they take imperfect action and adjust as they go along. To truly overcome the fear of failure, you need to develop a growth mindset. This means shifting your focus from avoiding failure to embracing it as an opportunity to learn and grow. When you have a growth mindset, failure becomes a natural part of the learning process. You're no longer afraid of it because you see it as something that helps you improve. You learn to detach your self-worth from your successes and failures. Failing doesn't make you a failure. It just means you've found one way that doesn't work, and now you can try another approach. Excuses are the silent killers of progress. They sound so rational, so convincing, that it becomes easy to fall into the trap of believing them. At first, it seemed like reasonable explanations for why things aren't working out, why you haven't yet achieved your goals. You tell yourself that circumstances just haven't aligned, that the timing isn't right, or that something outside your control is standing in your way. But the truth is, excuses are nothing more than barriers you create to avoid taking responsibility for your actions or lack of actions. They're comfortable because they allow you to shift the blame away from yourself, to put the focus on external factors that are supposedly hindering your success. But every time you give into an excuse, you lose momentum. You lose the power to change the situation because you've just handed that power over to something else. It's easy to make excuses when things get difficult. It's easier to say, I don't have the time or I'm too tired, than it is to face the hard truth that perhaps you're just not prioritizing your goals. Excuses are a way to avoid confronting the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. They provide a shield, protecting us from the vulnerability that comes with taking ownership of our actions. The problem is, these excuses are a form of self-sabotage. They create a cycle of inaction, where we convince ourselves that we can't achieve what we want, and therefore we don't even try. The more we make excuses, the more we reinforce the belief that we're powerless to change our situation. And that belief makes it even harder to take the first step toward progress. When you continuously make excuses, you rob yourself of growth. Every time you shift the blame, you stop learning the most important lessons of success: accountability, discipline, and persistence. Excuses keep you in a state of inertia, where you remain stuck, waiting for a perfect moment or a shift in circumstances that will never come. People who are successful don't wait for the perfect time. They create it. They understand that they can't control everything, but they can control their response to what happens. Life will always throw obstacles in your way, but successful people don't see them as reasons to quit. They see them as challenges to overcome. Excuses, on the other hand, give you an easy out. They allow you to sidestep the work that needs to be done and keep you in a place of comfort where nothing changes. There is also a dangerous pattern that happens when you start to make excuses. You begin to believe them. At first, you might be aware that you're making excuses, but over time, they become ingrained in your thinking. You start to believe that your lack of progress is due to things that are out of your control and not because of the choices you're making or the actions you're avoiding. The more you feed yourself these excuses, the more convincing they become. They turn into stories you tell yourself about why you can't succeed, stories that, in reality, aren't true at all. You may find yourself thinking, it's not my fault that I didn't get to that project, or there's no way I could have succeeded in that situation, when in fact it was your own fear, hesitation, or lack of follow-through that stopped you. The more you embrace these excuses, the less likely you are to take ownership of your own destiny. The key to breaking free from the cycle of excuses is to take responsibility, full responsibility, for where you are and where you're headed. It means acknowledging that your success or failure is largely in your hands, and that blaming the circumstances or the world around you doesn't move you forward. You need to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion. Life is messy, unpredictable, and chaotic. If you wait for everything to fall into place before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. Every successful person has faced tough times, setbacks, and obstacles, but they didn't let those things define their path. Instead, they focused on what they could control, their actions. They didn't sit around complaining about what they didn't have or what went wrong. They kept moving forward, finding solutions instead of excuses. One of the most powerful ways to overcome excuses is by setting clear, concrete goals. If you have a goal in mind, it becomes much harder to justify excuses. A well-defined goal doesn't allow for ambiguity. It demands action. And when you commit to it, you hold yourself accountable to the process, no matter what challenges arise. If you've made the decision to achieve something, you don't give yourself the luxury of excuses. Education, you show up, do the work, and move forward. You don't get to let your circumstances dictate your success. Instead, you take control of what's within your reach and make the most of what you have. At the core of it, excuses are a form of fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of rejection. They provide a shield that protects you from facing those fears head on. But this shield keeps you from growing. It keeps you from stepping into your true potential. The only way to move past fear is to confront it. You have to be willing to face the discomfort and uncertainty that comes with trying something new. You have to stop hiding behind excuses and start taking bold, imperfect action. The more you take responsibility for your actions, the less power excuses have over you. You'll begin to see that the only thing standing between you and your success is the decision to stop making excuses. And once you do, you'll find that what seemed impossible starts to feel within your reach. A clear, unwavering vision is the driving force behind every successful endeavor. Without it, you're like a ship lost at sea, tossed around by the waves of circumstance without any idea of where you're going or how to get there. The problem is that many people don't have a clear vision of what they truly want, and without that clarity, they're unable to take consistent, focused action. They drift through life, taking opportunities that come their way, but never truly pursuing a specific goal. A vague sense of desire isn't enough. You need to know exactly what you want and why you want it. When your vision is clear, it becomes your roadmap. It gives you direction when the path ahead seems unclear, and it serves as a compass that keeps you aligned with your true purpose. A common mistake people make is thinking that a vision is a one-time thought or idea. It's not just a fleeting wish or an abstract dream. A clear vision is a deeply rooted, constantly evolving purpose that guides your decisions, actions, and priorities every single day. It's the lens through which you view the world and everything in it. Without a clear vision, your goals are scattered, your efforts disjointed, and your motivation uncertain. You may find yourself chasing after things that seem appealing in the moment, but don't align with your true desires or long-term objectives. This lack of clarity keeps you from making real progress. You may achieve small successes, but they won't feel fulfilling because they weren't a part of the bigger picture you were meant to create. The power of a clear vision is that it shapes your actions. When you know exactly where you're headed, it becomes easier to make decisions and take purposeful steps. You start to recognize which opportunities are aligned with your goals and which ones are simply distractions. If your vision is specific and compelling, it becomes your North Star. No matter how much the world tries to pull you in different directions, you can always return to that vision as a guiding force. Is it raining? It gives you the clarity to say yes to the right things and no to the things that aren't in line with your purpose. A clear vision acts like a filter for your choices, making sure that every action you take is moving you closer to where you want to be. Without this clarity, people often end up overwhelmed and frustrated. They get caught up in the noise and distractions of daily life, bouncing from one task to another, without ever making real progress toward their goals. You can't achieve anything meaningful if you're constantly chasing after whatever seems important in the moment. In order to create real success, you need to know exactly what you're working toward. This means defining your goals clearly, both short-term and long-term, and understanding how each step you take is a building block toward that larger vision. Without this structure, you risk wasting time and energy on things that won't get you any closer to the life you want to create. A common issue that prevents people from developing a clear vision is a fear of commitment. They're afraid of setting a goal because it might fail, or they might change their mind later. But the truth is, clarity comes from commitment. When you choose a vision and commit to it fully, the path becomes clearer with each step you take. You may adjust your vision along the way, but having a direction to move in gives you the momentum you need to keep. Moreover, a clear vision is tied to purpose. Without purpose, even the most well-intentioned goals can feel hollow. A goal without a deeper meaning is just a task on a to-do list. The purpose behind your vision fuels your determination and helps you keep going when the journey gets tough. When the road ahead is hard, the clear vision of why you're pursuing that goal can reignite your passion and remind you of the bigger picture. It's the connection to that deeper sense of purpose that makes the sacrifices and challenges along the way worthwhile. You're not just working to check off items on a list, you're building something that matters to you. Some people fail to achieve their goals because they focus only on the practical aspects, the how, without taking the time to deeply connect with the why. The how is important, of course. You need a strategy and an action plan, but without the why, you're simply going through the motions. If you don't have a strong connection to your vision, your motivation will eventually fade. And without motivation, it becomes easy to give up when things get tough. And the why is the emotional and personal connection to the goal. It's the fire that keeps burning inside of you even when you face obstacles. It gives you the resilience to push through when everything around you seems like it's falling apart. A strong vision also helps you stay focused. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get off track. A clear vision serves as a constant reminder of your ultimate goal, helping you keep your eyes on the prize. It's easy to become distracted by other people's expectations, societal pressures, or fleeting opportunities. But when your vision is clear, you learn to filter out those distractions. You stop getting sidetracked by things that won't contribute to your larger goal. You prioritize what truly matters and work tirelessly toward that end. Ultimately, a clear vision provides you with the mental and emotional clarity to make the right decisions and take consistent, focused action. It keeps you motivated through setbacks, offers you direction when you feel lost, and aligns your actions with your deepest values and desires. When you have a clear vision, you stop wandering aimlessly, and instead you create a life that's intentionally designed to reflect your goals, passions, and purpose.